Hello and welcome to a special edition of Let's see what we're going to vote for some stuff. This time around, we are perhaps unsurprisingly doing the Ride Creation Contest. This is Ride Creation Contest 77, Inverted Coaster Contest 2, over on the DKMP. Thank you so much to everybody over there. It's such a cool community. Loads of contests always going on. I'd like to thank Timmy and Dirklink and all the people who are on the staff over there for the amazingly quick turnaround. I've never been part of one before, but the way that you submit is through like a bot, and then it's all assembled quite sort of autonomously, and that's really cool. I'm really impressed with the way they do things over there. So here we have 21 submissions we're going to go through today. I've already breezed through them a little bit. I'm familiar with all of them because I didn't want to come into this and not really have that much to say. I've sort of formed a little bit of an opinion on each one. There's a lot of Batmen in here, Batmen plural, and I famously am not so much a fan of the Batman Ride clones because we've historically seen them a lot on New Element, and I like seeing newer things. But really excited for all of these ones. There are some names that are familiar to me in here. I know that Bowen, Sugars, I'm trying to think who else has commented on my YouTube before. Possibly more, but I'm not so good with names and stuff. Obviously I know Lurker, Mamarius, Gustav, and Hypnopompia. Good to see Gus has done another one. It's great to see Mamarius. So let's go ahead and get stuck in, shall we? We shall go alphabetically. We're going alphabetically. I'm not going to be like doing the votes in front of you guys, I think. I don't know how public they are, but I just think doing it on my YouTube is perhaps a bridge too far when some are going to get higher than others. Yes, I don't think anyone signed up to be roasted on my little YouTube channel, so I'm not going to do that to them. Alright, without further ado, let's get stuck in. Let's have a look at ATN. And straight away, welcome to Halloween Town, everybody. And it was maybe the third Halloween-themed one that I had reached before I realised that they were Halloween-themed because it's October. Is that awful? Is that sort of detached from reality? Perhaps so. If I start seeming ill today, by the way, that's because I just got my flu jab earlier, and I'm sort of semi-expecting to come down with a lurgy of some description, which perhaps is appropriate for these haunted editions. I've come down with a case of being haunted by immunization. So it's quite a striking macro as we... So I don't know that any of the lines are sort of lining up, but it's quite cool to see like a big cliff here and then have the coaster like in the shadow of the cliff. I quite like that about it. I'm not sure about doing all these inversions and then going into a lift hill here. That seems kind of crazy, but I do like the creativity. It is a very unique layout, which cannot be said for some of them on this list. Batman clones. I jest, of course. It does take creativity to embody those rides in a way that's really cool and interesting. Earlier today, it was storming, and maybe that would have been appropriate for these Halloween-themed entries. In terms of the architecture, it's quite repetitive, but there's sort of enough variation to sort of see it by. I'd like to see some more development here. In terms of the foliage, this is kind of what we don't want from foliage, where it's just sort of a scatter shot of just random trees in random places. I think we can do a bit more with that. I recommend taking a look at my foliage tutorial, which I believe is from episode 8 of Fundamental Forest. Maybe it isn't though. Perhaps I should commit that to memory before I go talking about it. But there's not an amazing degree of flow here. It's quite a... I'd say it's quite a rudimentary layout with really cool ideas more than anything. So it's got good, it's got bad. it's perhaps what we would expect from someone whose name I'm not familiar with. I don't know whether I'm supposed to know your name, ATN. I do apologize if we are good friends for many years, for I don't remember. But I think the main takeaway from here, I do like this sort of like implied deep forest which goes on around the edge. I do like that. But I think the main takeaway from this one is that you know exactly what you're looking at as soon as you tune in. It does feel really Halloween-y. The color palette's right. All of those things are really cool. I just think it didn't quite stick the landing. We've got these go-karts around here as well. This strange little sort of show section, you might imagine, but there's not really much going on in there. But there's some good potential here. I think you've got an eye for what can make a theme work really well. So I'm excited to see more stuff from you, to be honest. Or maybe I should be more aware of you from before. I do apologize. Like I say, it's my first time sort of coming into the DKMP side of things and doing a vote. This is the first vote I've ever done. So thank you so much for sharing, ATN. Really great to see it. Great Halloween entry. Let's move on to the next one. We've got Big Al here, and straight away... Oh, and I'll apologize up top. I'm really, really sorry if I mispronounce your username. I'm certainly not doing it on purpose, so I'm very sorry if I have misapprehended how to pronounce your name. Feel free to correct me if you want to, and if you don't, that's fine as well. But we've got another Halloween-themed one here. Got some cool hacks in this one, which can certainly help when it comes to differentiating between. My favorite one is the creepy carousel here, which has a mix of vehicles on it to give that spooky vibe. I like it. In terms of the coaster, I like the color, but again, we're sort of lacking a bit of direction with it. The thing that I think's sort of easier about doing a realistic kind of layout is that you can refer directly to things to sort of get a vibe for what you want. If you're doing a more fantastical one, like a lot of these are, it can be a bit more challenging to find a place to inspire you from. So maybe it's worth doing a bit more realism practice, just so you have that base to work from in terms of what you can use to your advantage. Again, similar to ATN's entry, we look at this, we realize straight away it's Halloween-y. Lots of great colours, the Halloween-y colours. Of course, you've got the pumpkin. You've got to get that pumpkin in there. Do you not? Coming in from the entrance side, this appears to be a little self-contained park, which is really fun. So I prefer this layout to the first one, but again, it's not really scratching that itch for me. I think we've left some stuff on the table. I think in a lot of these, we're going to be talking about sort of unfulfilled potential. And I think looking here, there's clearly an instinct to have, you know, the ride sort of contained within this C shape here, which is a really good instinct. But again, we want to raise this path up so that it sort of gives an arena style feeling where we can look down on the ride. It's going through the trenches and stuff like that. You seem to have an instinct for that sort of thing because you've perhaps subconsciously raised up the land up here as it goes up the lift hill. Got some like wooden style supports. We've got the beginnings of custom supports coming through, but they're a little bit underdeveloped, so to speak. Again, like with the last one, the flow could be better. But all in all, I'm impressed with this entry. Some really cool hacks, some really nice uses of color. Again, with me, it's not perhaps to my taste, but like this bay over here looks really cool. Nice use of the colors. We've got the Dirk Link hole there. Need we say more? And over here, this orchard type vibe that's going on over here is really cool. Great work there. On to the next one. Bowen. I recognize you from my comments. I regret not knowing more about you, because you've done me the kindness of getting involved in my little tiny part of the community, so I'm very thankful for that. I won't let that bias my voting, though you are my favourite so far, because you've left me a comment. This one has some like really like neat like moments which shine through, I think. Like the macro idea here of having this like unique path layout with the little diagonals here, it comes across really well, I think. And it's sort of, there's a bit more of it over here, and these cool canopies sort of like that. They work really well. We've got a big old shoestringed Ferris wheel. I think the thing that we might want to worry about with Ferris wheels is the sight lines that it caters to, because obviously it's a big flat disc. From this direction, it's just flat this way, so what's really going on in this direction that, or this direction perhaps, that's going to be that this particular layout is going to be catering toward? And there's not really all that much. I guess there's this sort of abject angle here, this very acute angle from this rooftop where you can see it, but I think the main sort of line of vision is going to be up this direction, this sort of top left through to bottom right. I apologize for yawning. It's not because I'm bored, it's because I'm very tired, and that I cannot fix. Well, I can fix it, I can go to sleep, but instead, I actually want to review these cool entries, because you guys have plainly put a lot of effort into them, and it's really cool to see 21 entries to a contest like this. I'm not entirely sure how many there are normally, but 21 feels like loads. I'm really, really impressed with the level of engagement that the DKMP has. It's something that is really, really something you guys can be proud of. The people entering, of course, but also the people who perhaps don't enter, a bit more on the lurky side of things, but give the encouragement which help other people too. So really, really cool to see that over on the DKMP. Let's have a review of this ride, shall we? So we can see that one's come down this curved hill here and into this sort of, this is called Manta 1. It's sort of Manta inspired. This, you can imagine this is a bit like the flying coaster pretzel loop, but not quite, because it's an inverted coaster version. And we go through a loop and then onto quite a straight long bit on this roof, which sort of makes me wonder, did the building come first? Perhaps in the narrative of the piece, yes, but I'm not entirely sure like how we've let this influence the piece like that. I don't know of any sort of realistic ride that does that. Not that you have to do it realistically. I'd hate to imply that I have a bias towards realistic things. I don't feel like I do, but when we speak about realism, we can speak about something we can reference, and that's the main sort of takeaway here from that method of reviewing. I love the penguins in here. Really great idea, executed in a really fun way. Really cool to see this sort of water purification thing going on here, which you'd naturally need a sort of sea spray park, as this one's called. But I'm looking at it, and there's 1, 2, 3 separate rides. There's several ways you can get around this, perhaps the easiest of which is just coming in, copying, and then pasting, and then you only need one ride. Or you could come in and do just select it in Scenery Manager and copy it, and then you can paste it somewhere else. You know, just something to bear in mind for efficiency's sake, because say, for example, if you go up against somebody who has a park and it's just as good as this one, and I'm really struggling to pick which one to vote a little bit higher, let's say I have to pick between them, which one am I going to pick that's better? It's going to be small details like naming your rides which come into it. These aren't named. You could have named them water purification system. Same with like mini golf. I appreciate that everyone's in a rush and it's a short time frame, but these little details are things you should leave yourself time for, because they're going to speak to a level of polish, a level of attention to detail, which could get you that 1% little nudge over the edge to beat somebody out. Really cool sort of like macro going on here. I think we get sort of lost in the grain of we've got too many colours going on this roof. I don't know what the inspiration for that is, but it is distracting from the more cool elements like this huge show building you've got here. Really cool, great work. I'm also like a bit of a fan of this uncanny line that comes along here. It's sort of like otherworldly with how like perfect it is, so to speak. A little line of Steve trees. But it seems like we've used a variation of different kinds of Steve trees, which is... I'm not sure how effective that is. It looks a bit muddled rather than... With like ornamental trees like that, they would all just be the same, if that makes sense. We're making some, I'm hesitant to say good use of these Wacky Worlds or Time Twister statues, whichever one they are, because I just don't think there can be good uses for some of these. We've not found them here. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, Bowen. But I understand why you've used them, so maybe we'll look at it in that direction. Really cool show building, really cool big structure. I think it just needs a little bit of finesse to bring it home, so to speak. It becomes a bit confusing in this area as well, with all of the cues being same with the path. It just looks a bit labyrinthine. It just needs a bit of clarity on here. But we've got some really cool hacked rides in this one as well. And I do really like this. It just appears to be a bit of like a viewing platform for this feature that comes around here as well. Another really cool, interesting park from you guys. For my particular taste, I think these have got better and better as we've looked at each individual one. That can't possibly keep going, so this one's probably going to be rubbish, right? Yep, just what I thought. Here it is. Batman the Ride. Okay, I'll try and leave my bias at home. This one's really, really cool. And I think it is... I'm just going to be honest, I don't like Batman the Ride clones. I think they're overdone. And what's more, when something's really overdone, it's not even that, like, it being that I've seen a lot of them is necessarily the problem. It's just that I think it's been done better. So not only am I sort of like a bit like, oh, here we go, another Batman the Ride clone, I'm also like, it's not even the best one I've seen. I appreciate that everybody's going to have like a different place in their journey that they're at in terms of the amount of Batman the Rides they've seen. So, that sentence didn't really make all that much sense, did it? But I hope you guys understand what I meant by that. This park is clearly... We don't have to look far to start finding things that we can really appreciate in this one. This bat signal, obviously awesome. The choice of palette to give this in place, this sort of like implied light that's coming from this nighttime scene. Each of the buildings is a really cool sort of Batman 1989 aesthetic going on. Each building's got a great personality, placed really well. The macro feels really good, despite the fact it is just a big square. There's enough finesse to make the big square work. Just these little urban type things and little police cars made with... That's a curb. So what's making those police car-y lights? Probably an object, right? Let's get in there and have a look. Small scenery stool. And we got, like, is this Arkham Prison? Gotham Correctional Facility. We got the weights over here and a diagonal basketball thing going on there. Really cool. I think the colours of this coaster as well is sort of doesn't necessarily work all that much for me. I just think it's a weird way to have done it. Like, what is this weird colour? I think it just would have been better to just get that gold in there. I wonder if it was supposed to be sort of like an implied, like the lights hitting it, but you want for the whole shebang to be the same colour, really. So for me, I'm kind of sorry to say it, it's sort of like a middling rendition of Batman the Ride, but the surroundings are like top tier. I think you've achieved a lot with these surroundings. Just everywhere you look, there's another thing that's really interesting. The Batcave over here, obviously. So this entry, I'm really sorry, I don't know if I know carp runner and in error, so I'm really sorry about that, guys. I was unfamiliar with your game. This crashed cop car with like water firing out of it, just awesome. Great work, guys, and I've got a soft spot for Night Hawks. Great gag there. Obviously we've got the Batmobile. Really cool ideas. This is really, really up there, not just for stuff that I've seen this month, but for all of the DKMP stuff. I think it's really, really... I'm really impressed with this one, guys, so great work. I'm looking forward to seeing more as well. Making like really good looking coasters is challenging. I don't want to make it seem like anyone could have done a better job than this. I don't think so. I think it is challenging, but when you've set the bar so high with your surroundings, I've kind of got to look at the weakest bit, which is the coaster. So excellent work, guys. Really, really think you've done a great job of almost everything in this map. Supports are looking awesome. Why is there so much vomit along here? And what is this? Zoo toilets. Let's move on to the next one before I'm sick having to look at that. Ah, this looks really cool. I hope we can look at it from more than one angle. Yes. These half diagonals are really, really cool. I just wish they were real. This is by Sugars, another person I recognize from my comments. So thank you so much for that. I'm about to roast you though. Why is it only from one angle? This is a GIF. You've brought me a GIF to judge. Though I will concede that being able to have your ride be only visible from that one angle has allowed you to do some really, really excellent stuff regarding like the supports and this half diagonal transfer track building. Really, really awesome stuff there. I think I would have preferred to see a solid color for the track. And in terms of like the colors overall, I think we're left needing a splash of something. Perhaps some colors in the flowers, a more striking set of colors for the ride track could have gone a long way. I think we're struggling a bit with the sort of textures here. This texture is very flat. This texture here is a bit too noisy. Let's look at the positives. The idea for this, incredible. These half diagonals, really, really awesome. Half diagonals over here, looking really cool. Same with this half diagonal transfer shed situation that's going on here. Ride layout, like this first half, is really cool. I like it. I don't mind the diagonal steep lift hill. I think it's maybe like an idea for like a newer generation of inverts. We've not had any really strikingly like cool inverts in like 15 years. I wonder if the sort of production world has moved away from inverted coasters a little bit. I don't know why that is. They were so big for so long. This element here is kind of a miss in my eyes. I would have maybe preferred like a helix here, then over into the corkscrew into the brake run. Maybe just redo this section in this part. The supports, obviously incredible. This diagonal sort of net to protect the guests from this swinging by, to protect you from the iPhones, of course, that are flying out of everybody's pockets. So there's lots to roast about this one, but there's also lots to like about it as well, which is why for me it's a challenging one to score, because when I open a park I am expecting 4 angles. I kind of have to cut your score to a quarter of what it could have been, don't I? Because you've only submitted a quarter of a park, a quarter of an idea. We roasted Julau about this back when he released Mammoth. I'm going to roast Chuggers about this now, because we must extend that same courtesy we extended to the beloved Julau to say, what are you doing? Why did you decide to make your thing worse by having it only be from one angle? But I do understand why you did it, because it's allowed you to get into these half diagonal angles and stuff that are really unique, really cool, I just personally wish we could have had it both ways. I know that's maybe a bit too much to ask, a bit too crunchy here, a bit too flat here in terms of the textures of the ground. You're clearly very skilled, Chuggers, to be able to pull this off, even if there's things I think could be improved on, i.e. the colours, maybe the overall macro could be a bit more cool, but you clearly have a really, really good understanding of these things which really help ride design, like having it go into the trenches here. Awesome idea, going into that tunnel around there. I think I'll leave the criticism there and just say really, really good work. I'm looking forward to seeing more, perhaps more on a multi-angle side of things. Looking forward to seeing more. Here we have Colorblind Unicorn with a sort of traveling amusement park sort of thing. Really cool idea. I wonder if this is a one that you hoped to submit to last month's Ride Creation Contest, which was for a traveling coaster, if I'm not very much mistaken. I will say that I think you have achieved what you were going for quite well. I'm not enamored by the coaster. I think it is a cool idea. I don't know how much inverted traveling coasters there were, so I guess you've kind of got to go off your instinct, kinda, right? Saw the ride. Yes, I did. With mine own two eyes. Cool to see a Himalaya, or should I say unknown ride brackets 38-1. Also really neat to see these traveling ride type things. But when we discuss the overall macro for this, it is very square. Sending things skew-if is perhaps less realistic because they'd want it to be pretty square, but they never achieve that like perfect squareness, right? Really cool to see these like trailers and whatnot, which no doubt would have moved all of these rides around once upon a day/night. Cool to see these games. Look at that. Like, you can imagine what kind of game that is. Really cool to use the mini golf for that sort of thing. So seeing this foliage along this line and then the water line, I think we really need to break out of this like grid-based thinking that you've got. I know you went for a traveling fair type thing, but you achieved that and it's not that interesting. So from an overall macro level, we need to be knocking these things off the axis, get a bit more imperfection in there. It's something you seem to have understood with this shoreline type thing. It's perhaps still a little bit perfect in how imperfect it is, but that instinct, I hope next time you can carry into the other stuff you do, just so that it makes it that bit more interesting, that bit more surprising. There's no like drama here. It's quite like down the middle. Do you get what I mean? That being said, I want to congratulate you on getting such a cool and interesting submission in. Having done it myself this month, I've got a lot of respect for all you guys who put the effort in and get this stuff submitted, because heaven knows it isn't trivial. Great work, Colorblind Unicorn. Looking forward to seeing more. Hopefully we can get a bit more drama, a bit more surprising format from you next time you do a submission. I'm looking forward to it whenever that is. Okie dokie, Fast Fly 48. We've got another cool fantasy inspired entry going on here from Fast Fly 48. When we're doing the Cobra roll, I think that we should always do it. What this always looks like to me when you do a Cobra roll and it sort of like comes in at the center, it reminds me of someone whose feet are like their toes are turned in, like a cartoon character. Really cool feature with the sort of path which leads to the entrance. I would have maybe tried to bring this queue to a more significant location so you could really, really well exploit the great sort of gate feature of the Cobra roll. I'm kind of impressed with this, to be honest. Fast Fly. I'm not familiar with any of your work before. Maybe you've done loads of stuff, maybe you haven't. But on some levels it feels quite beginner, right? These like big raw walls, a little bit underdeveloped. But I do feel like you've got a good like eye for flow on the ride. All of the things flow pretty well. This big like flat diagonal bit here could obviously use a bit of work. But I feel like that's the only bit of it which kind of doesn't flow. And that's despite, you know, how unique of an idea it is. There's not really... It feels sort of like almost strangely realistic in how unrealistic it is. I think this bit here is the only bit which doesn't have at least a, like, good acceptable bit of flow there. But also this, like, strange feature which comes around like this and then comes up and over there, and there's, like, chain lift on it. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I do appreciate the cool line which it comes over this track here, comes over the lift obviously, and then drops down through this dive loop sort of thing, and that's just an interesting feature. So you've clearly got a good instinct for this sort of thing. I think it's probably going to come as no surprise to you that I think the rest of it's fairly underdeveloped. There's just not a lot going on. The craters kind of think it would need a bit more finesse to get it to work. I also don't know why it's there, especially when it's right next to a pond with fishies in. But you clearly have a good understanding of, like, we're going to do this turnaround like this. We should make it a sort of bowl situation. And same with down here, having this ravine with this stuff sort of diving through and into it, that sort of thing. There's a good instinct. I like where your brain's going. That being said, looking forward to seeing more from you, my friend. Not necessarily the highest scoring from this contest, I don't think, but I'm looking at it and I'm seeing potential here. Next, we've got Funnybone4796 and Ruvis. Hello to both of you. I don't recognize those names. Perhaps I should. My apologies. And this one is called Big Monkey Mountain. Okie dokie. The high point from this one, when I was looking at it yesterday, this area is like S tier, you know, like even the gorilla statue here, amazing. This little kiosk works really well. I like this sort of like entrance part to the park. The monkey exhibit looking awesome. This guy having a little swing, the part where it comes over the top. There's one that's escaped, and there's a monkey whirlpool. So awesome, really, really cool. I also like the big swing taken with banana hammock. The ride, the banana shape made by these ride features, by this ride track, is really cool. A nice custom swinging ship kind of thing, very banana themed. As for the coaster, I think more time could have been spent on this to bring this up to that sort of quality. Again, we've got like ride tracks with different... I think that maybe it's an unreasonable bias, but it always looks better when the whole of the ride track is coloured the same. But this ride's clearly very fantastical. Having it contained all on the island is a cool idea. We've got a little like Flightmare Mel's World section going on here. But a little pet peeve of mine is when you've got like a ride station and then it like goes like does just this sort of thing, just is always kind of like, huh? Like it feels like you're just sort of like connecting bits of ride together willy-nilly. I don't really have all that much to say about the coaster design. I think like the pacing isn't too hot, could have had more time spent on it. I think it's pretty meandering and fairly short as well. There's like good instinct in here, like this feature where it comes around here and then comes back around. This is like a good idea, as well as this interesting kind of, what do they call it? They call it like a banana loop or something, which would have been really appropriate for Big Monkey Mountain, wouldn't it? I think maybe even doing like a banana style thing here could have been quite cool. Like, why is it two different color schemes being used? Let's get rid of supports. I see. Well, I respect that. So yeah, some really cool ideas from you guys here. I feel like it didn't quite stick the landing for me, but maybe other people will disagree. You cannot hinge your entire hopes and dreams on one person's opinion of a thing, can you? That is a fool's errand. Looking forward to seeing more from you guys. I'm going to be looking out for the both of yous, seeing what's going on, making sure you're both behaving. Next up is Gus and Hypnopompia. Let's have a look, see. Straight away, there's a level of quality we can appreciate here. Ooh, we've got a back entrance. Alas, worm eggs. So let's watch this ride through. What is it with you guys and steep lift hills? I don't necessarily have beef with it, but let's see where this is going. Nice. Nice cool feature here, and going into a interesting feature like a half batwing down, and then we go into our loop which wraps around the lift hill. Very nice. Into our cobra roll, which is framed really well by this bridge, and this swoops down over the path, swooping into this diagonal brake run. Very nice. I think I would have preferred this to be one tile shorter than it is. Down into this ravine. You can clearly see a really strong instinct from these guys of where a ride should trench. It should trench like maybe as often as it can, sort of thing. I'm not sure about this feature at the end, to be honest. I just think for me it doesn't quite work for me. This area in this back corner as well, it feels very quiet, and I feel like we could have had more going on over here to heighten the drama of this, but I understand that it is, of course, behind here, and it's the transfer tracks, all of that cool good stuff, and a service road which goes off in that direction, though you are free to, I believe, drive into this river if you really want to. So this is really awesome. This is where this particular ride this particular entry really shines. This gift shop that you can see in here, it looks incredible. It looks like the exit just comes down underneath the station, and you've got these sort of flying buttress sort of things going on here. Again, we need to name these things if we're trying to nudge the entry over the edge from a great entry into a winning entry. And the queue looks really awesome, and it takes us through to see this show section in the back, this little narrative thing where these people are stealing the eggs, and then the earthworm gets angry, and then the queue comes back around and heads up to the station there. This is awesome. Textures are so good. All of these realism details are looking absolutely fantastic. Works incredibly well. This statue looks really awesome. A little sitting area back here. We've got lockers for the ride over on this side. That's something that I always forget. This is very much giving me strong Pacific Coaster vibes, with all of these details which really jump out and really sell it. Really working. What sort of building's this one? It's just a building of some description. Really cool, like, center of the carousel thing going on there. Really nice custom carousel. This top part is looking terrifying as well. And we have a amphitheater, an earthen sort of amphitheater there. Incredible. This building looks really cool as well. Really impressed. Are these booths? Are these booths you can sit in, no less? And we've got the classic. There's one of these, I think it's a Cedar Point, and there's also one at the entrance of Alton Towers, if I remember correct. And these coaster cars as racks of stuff. Works incredibly well. Oh, these things as interior shelves. This Archie is all, you know, as good as you could really want it, to be honest. It's This sign works really well as well. This reminds me of the Earthbound logo. Is that what you were going for? The actual coaster has some idiosyncrasies that perhaps I don't really like, but it also has some really, really strong things. But the feature up here, that sort of pre-main drop, it's quite... I'm trying to think, like, what are the like real world examples? You got obviously Nemesis, but that's for perhaps a smaller ride. And then the sort of, maybe this is like a dive loop sort of thing we can call it, like a dive loop at an angle through into this, and then obviously the Cobra roll underneath this bridge, which heads to Citadelva. It's like a play on Citadel, and this is the gift shop on the way out from this ride. This is awesome. This little like view here just looks really, really like, it just feels very real. So great work there. And then we've got, who is this? Excavator. Really, really well staged. I'm gonna make no secret of the fact that I'm not really a huge fan of this sort of texture here, this like wind sculpted wall base and the like. Same with this stuff over here, like, what is this? This is a red meteor crater wall. I think it's so ugly, guys. I think we could have done as good, if not better, with like the standard volcano stuff, or with just the regular ground textures. Like this, to me, just works better. These textures they're just a bit too far. Like, these textures work really well with like the recolors and stuff, but these ones, I'm not a huge fan of it, I'm sorry to say. The ride design feels really cool. I can imagine being on this. It's got the Talocan type beat going on, and that is always a winner in my eyes. The verisimilitude of this, if we're looking at it from a peep point of view, we have access to sort of this sort of area here, the stuff back there, and then behind here we don't have access to, I don't think. So I'm a little bit torn on this. There's some aspects of this that I feel like could be better, but all of the like surroundings and stuff, I feel like I don't have that much to criticize. In fact, there's a lot to reward here. So I think I'll have to score that accordingly. But really, really, really cool entry, guys. All of the Archie looks great. Like that stuff, all these features just come out really well. These realistic features. Great theatre there. I sort of kind of wish that this part was reworked a little bit. But the way this is diving through, interacting with all this really, really well executed DKSO stuff, really cool. There's lots to love about this one. Lots to love. I think the coaster could have maybe used those one or two more drafts just to bring it up to the fullest, utmost potential, because obviously the rest of it I'm really, really loving. So those are the moments where you're kind of like, oh, we could have gone a little bit further with the rest of it. But I don't want that to feel like too much of a criticism. It's sort of like a compliment that sort of transmorgifies into a criticism. It's like the rest of it's so good, I wanted for the rest to be as good as well. So sort of hoisted by your own petard. If you'd made a worse park, I wouldn't be criticizing that as much. It's kind of your own fault, guys. Really great work to Gus and Hypno. Allow us to move on to the next one. Horror Girl and Jan the Man 227. Let's see it. Ooh, cool to see the Ripper ride, the Zipper. Let's see, what's final destination, the park. Oh! Oh, good lord! Oh my good heavens, look what you're doing! There's more cars coming. Heaven help them! Lord have mercy. Got lots of ball lovers over here. So this appears to be a ride based on the Final Destination films. Now, isn't one of the films, it has a roller coaster in it? Again, we've got a bit of a toes together sort of standing technique there. Oh, is this the one from the film? Devil's Flight. Here they are dingle-dangling from it. Yeah, you'd be right about the ride being broken. I'm definitely getting fired. We've got a crashed plane over here. This is cool, guys. And this is the lady who lives in the thing. I've not seen a lot of the films, but I have watched the... Oh, this is stuff from all the films. I see. What a cool idea. Let's have a watch of the coaster. At least it doesn't have a tall lift hill. Am I right, guys? Straight into the toes together. Cobra roll. A loop around the lift hill. Gotta be done. A very low to the ground 0G roll. Up and into a helix on the top of the Space Needle. This is I believe in the most recent film, the beginning takes place on that, and somebody saves her life so she can survive. Passes on her curse. Oh, and this is the person getting hit by the bus. We could have definitely done with being slowed down a bit more there. And then we've got the famous log scene. Really, really great work. And what's this? This is Log Flume 1, of course, from Final Destination. Really, really cool work, guys. Very fun to explore. I'm not so much the biggest fan of this coaster, though. I just feel like it needed a bit more pizzazz, in my opinion. A bit more flow, but it does have some nice flowing moments. I like that you extended out this, like, 0G roll. But the other features, I feel like just a little bit clunky, just not to my taste. And sadly, I can only vote for my taste. And for that, I'm really sorry. I wish I had the average of all people's taste, so I could give you an honest, objective opinion. Really, really, really fun entry. I really enjoyed looking through this one. Great work, guys. Looking forward to seeing more from the both of you. Horror Girl living up to their name. This is from Kaniava and Shen Kitchen. Let's have a look-see. Shen's Kitchen, I see first and foremost. Alright, right off the jump, this feels very consistent, very cool little Wild West sort of thing going on here. This is called Single Rail Roller Coaster 1. What is the coaster called? It's called Yeehaw! Love that. Finally, one which isn't knock-kneed. It seems like everybody gets the grasp. You've got to put the path over the Cobra roll, guys. It's the law. You wouldn't break the law. I really appreciate the sort of how sparse this area is. There's little bits of foliage, but much less than there might necessarily be in other parks, so to speak. So I really like how you've sold the experience. It feels very holistic, very complete, without having something that's important as loads and loads of foliage. These objects are kind of disgusting and ugly, but you've used them to a good potential here. Let's watch it through again. I feel like this is a very unique sort of layout as well. So you've got the curved drop. Most inverted coasters for a long, long, long time all had curved drops. I think it was something about the wheels or something where the straight drop, but also like on a straight drop, you're kind of not getting the full potential out of the inverted coaster experience because you can't really see. But when the track curves, you can see a bit better because it moves the track out of the way for the viewer, I believe. I think I would have had this a bit more flat over the top of here, or maybe just gone underneath and through into this final brake run. I think that hills on inverted coasters don't do as well as we perhaps might want them to. But all in all, in terms of like the coaster layout, fun and interesting. It's framed really well around the outside. All in all, I think this is really effective. I think you've done a good job here, and we've got a standard issue Wild Mouse going on over here. Modest, doesn't really add that much in. Quite a basic station and entrance situation. Let's have a look what the entrance to the ride is doing. We've got a cool sort of significant point here. Really awesome. Really cool. This rapids ride over here, really cool as well. Got a nice curved feature around there, some little huts to sell some food, and a nice little rail bridge over there. Is there a train which runs on it? We just don't know. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The 3 towers over there. I think we maybe could have done something more with the colours there to add a little pop of colour. Having these like neutral greens is sort of maybe a missed opportunity. Who knows? Really awesome entry there from Kaniava and Shen Kitchen. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing anything there, guys. Very, very sorry. Allow us to move on to the next one, shall we? We've got LOL69. Am I pronouncing that correctly? And here we've got another Batman the Ride. Batman the Ride with 2 exclamation points, automatically getting more points from me there. You've made me excited about it. I think this is one of those examples where you can really like muddle the mind's eye, the like subconscious eye as to the importance of things. Because we've got a plaza over here, but it's just for the Batarang. Like, and why don't we have a plaza for the main coaster? It's almost like secluded and hidden using these hedges and stuff. This is a cool garden, don't get me wrong, but imagine if this was sunk down, we had more path around it to make it more of a plaza, we could see over the top of it, and then we could see these significant features here of the Batman the Ride entrance. Also, I'd really try to avoid stacking queues next to each other. It just makes for a not very charismatic area. We could really heighten these a bit more, just separate them, like give them a bit more personality. Like this one has like good personality where it's like going through these big gardens. So let's judge this Batman the Ride clone. Jumps through here. It's going way too fast. But I guess that's the problem when you're trying to emulate something from real life. You very rightly put a brake there to slow it down a little bit as it's heading through those last little elements. Not there in real life, but what can you do, eh? And then it's got that final tunnel to lead it back to the ride. I feel like this is a bit of like a passion project from this person. I feel like LOL69 really likes the Batman the Ride clones. Batarang's obviously a really cool name for a Vekoma boomerang type deal. We've got some pretty rudimentary buildings here. These are obviously, there's a lot more that can be done with that, but I appreciate the effort nonetheless. Really cool to see a submission from you, LOL69. I think it definitely shows a lot of promise, a lot of potential. I think we need to move away from these more rudimentary type building techniques. I think you're showing a bit of potential with some of these like ideas for staging and whatnot here. The macro has like clearly you have an idea of what can make these things work better, so I'm excited to see it a bit more developed, you know what I mean? And on to the next one. Let's look at Lurker. Now, I'm a big Lurker fan, but when I looked at this yesterday, it perhaps wasn't my favourite Lurker showing, but I'm always willing to have my mind changed, because there are many chances in my heart when it comes to my beloved Lurker. I think the main problem that I'm having with this one is it's sort of fading a little bit as I look at it more. There's no paths, so it's hard to guide the eye on where it should be. And when we have this sort of scattershot application of the fall colours, it can get a bit confusing as to what we're looking at and where. Something that's always really cool with Lurker, they have a really good understanding of what colour needs to be used to really make it pop. And this icy blue colour scheme, really awesome. So this first drop into the loop with the waterfall behind it works really well. Works a bit better from this angle than this angle, but this little view here, Great instinct there, Lurker. Really, really, really works. The ride's pretty short. And it has little clunky moments like this where it comes through like this and then jumps. It has to jump over here. I think maybe there's something that could have been done about that to get that similar feature without having an awkward leap to get over it. But that being said, it does have its own special little riz, doesn't it? It's quite a small layout, pretty modest layout, but it's staged really well, like a really good geographic feature here to help it along. Double corkscrew, and then a little slalom to get back to the station. Not horrible. Not horrible at all. Something that I really appreciate about Lurker is that they'll set a tone for the way the way the architecture is going to be, and then that's sort of followed throughout the rest of the area / park, depending on the type of thing Lurker is doing. What is this flying around? Reveal yourself. _birds. Great work, birds. Despite its size, there's some really fun like moments to explore in here, so I really appreciate that. Lurker, really, really cool little entry. I would have preferred a little bit more focus, maybe in the colouring of the foliage. You could have better focused the eye, created more contour, created more like striation and like specific ways to guide the eye. Like I say, the sort of random scatter shot, like when we zoom out, there's no clear rhyme or reason to how the colours are, and that might be how it is in real life, don't get me wrong, but when you're presenting it in this way to the viewer in Roller Coaster Tycoon, it does make it difficult to guide and focus the eye. Even if we'd had just like a footpath colour, like a brown footpath, like the brown tarmac footpath, would have gone a long way to helping us direct our eye. So it's sort of like good idea, but you needed to lean into other things to make sure it was going to be effective. Really, really appreciate the effort. Always appreciate your unique way of doing it, doing the darn thing. And we love you for it. Let's move on to the next one. Who's this handsome stranger? Is it Mamarius? I always say Mamarius. I don't know whether that's the correct way to say it. Maybe it is Mamarillas. There's critters in this one. No one told me there would be critters. So here we have it immediately a very, very striking macro. And I feel like that is really, really where Mamarius makes their money. They are so good at the macro side of things. Really, really cool little peep scene there. Oh, we've got a huge, ugly anglerfish with someone getting eaten by it. You're kidding me. A yellow submarine of sorts. So yeah, let's take a look at this invert. It's kind of a funny one. You got a knock-kneed cobra roll there, bud. What are you doing? All right, let's see if there's one approaching the top of the lift hill. Going quite speedy up that lift hill. 7 miles per hour. I accept you. Quite a nice feature to begin with. Through into an admittedly knock-kneed cobra roll, but we can kind of get over that. I certainly hope I can anyway. Where's it going to appear next? Is it coming up here? Yes, I believe it appears into there. It's going to dive down into a dive loop, and then it comes back and through here, I believe. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Through and into a helix there. Through and into our corkscrews, I believe, around it's just called tower. Great work. Great work on the naming there, buddy. And then back into the station. In terms of the overall layout of this coaster, I feel like we are just kind of getting from one moment to another, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that that's what it is. The surroundings for this one are they're really hard to mark down because they're so rich and full of life and personality, and these little views into we've got little ride sign for the entrance to the queue. Gotta love that. We've got the submarine. We've got the giant squid with a big scary mouth, big scary eyes, big scary tentacles. We got the last cowboy. Don't say that. There's not a last cowboy. You tell me that the cowboys are gone? But for this one individual under the ocean blue no less. Afraid that the actual coaster isn't necessarily to my particular taste. But if everybody built things to my particular taste, the world would be a very boring place, I believe. Really, really, really awesome presentation from you, Mamarius. Gotta love it. The contrast between the lack of color of everything else and then the gold and blues and greens of the civilization that's under the ocean. You've got to love it. You simply got to love it. And the submarine coming out of this thing here? You're kidding me. You are simply kidding me. Why aren't people more worried about the giant squid that's up there? That's what I want to know. All right, let's move on to the next one, huh? Next, we've got Mouse. Ah, we know Mouse from New Element. You showed a little bit of this, did you not? Let's have a look. It's called Bubblegum. Ooh, we've got a little car ride around here. Macros showing signs of promise. We've got a little bit of a dead end situation here, where the leading line for it is almost more to the toilets than it is for this. We have got a line that sort of comes across here, but it's sort of blocked by the coaster a little bit, isn't it? Cool to see these Candyland objects put to good use, even for roofs with these sort of bassets, all sorts things. Is that what they're called? Good lord. Did I reveal how British I was in that moment? Or am, I should say. I've not yet been cured of my Britishness, I'm ashamed to say. Really cool little car ride going around. Looks like a real blast to go through. Who's this? This is Cutie up in the tower. I should have known. We're suffering a little bit from right angle-itis here, where things sort of come down at right angles. I think we can be a bit more brave with the forms. I know it's scary, but it's going to be that next step which pushes you on to more bigger and nicer and greater and more wonderful things. Loving the two giraffes playing chess. It's got a lot of personality, this one. I do like it. I think it clearly needs a bit more development. It's not really competing with some of the other entries, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I think with time, with more times playing the game, all that stuff, I feel like something that we see is people just only letting the path cling to the edge of stuff, and we've got this whole corner over here. We could have pushed this entire perspective of this park a bit more this way to pull this corner in a bit more, and then we could have had a bit more use made of this area over here, you know what I mean? Coaster isn't to my particular taste, so I can't score it too highly from my particular subjective opinion, but it shows a lot of promise, Mouse. I'm really glad that you came up to New Element. You said that you're a watcher of my series, and a few of those macro ideas are already beginning to shine through. I'm excited to see what experience, something that money can't buy, might I add, with experience, how much better you will become. I'm thinking much, much, much better, because this one's already pretty cool. Good use of colours, it's interesting and unique. There's certainly no others on this list that are quite like this one. And that's all for the good. Okie dokie, pet narwhal. Ooh, interesting. We've got a cliffside sort of perspective going on here. Let's have a look what's going on these tiny little islands. An unfortunate shack, no less. some concrete, a whirlpool, a shark. Somebody call the shark police. So we've got a nice little car park here. It looks to be like a mostly indoor coaster going on here. That's crazy. Oh, it comes up the side here and then it goes into it. What's this called? Grand Roller Coaster. Very daring to put an S-bend at the top of a lift hill. Got a loop that comes up and out into a kind of dive loop type thing and then through into a inline twist. Sort of murderous of you to do that. You kind of want in these inline twists to be at the sort of the apex, so they're going just a little bit slower because it is quite an aggressive inversion that you don't really want. You want it to be above other things that you're doing, right? It needs to be at the slowest point of the current part that it's currently doing. It needs to be slowed down for that. Cool little ferret wheel. Love a ferret wheel. Funny little train going there. Congratulations. So we're suffering from straight line-itis here a bit, aren't we? Grand Coaster Hotel. So it's like a hotel with a coaster inside it. I see, I see, I see. Very cool idea. Cool, like, fantasy idea. Very, very cool. There's obviously like a lot of personality and imagination that's gone into this. But it's another long one with a coastline, isn't it? Stuff I like. Cool idea. Nice drama with the height of the boardwalk as compared to there. I like the waves crashing up against here. Nice sign going on here with the waves being implied by the ride track there. Cool architecture coming through here. I would have preferred more architecture, to be honest. More stuff to the standard of this throughout the park would have helped push up the score a little bit. I think it's cool that you got a nice shoestring in there. First wheel seems to be the one to go for this month, doesn't it? Cool little watchtower up here, someone taking a picture. Forest waiter. I want to go home. Why ever would you want to? You're at the Grand Coaster Hotel. Cool little entry here, pet narwhal. I'm afraid I don't have much more to say about that. It's got a small footprint. It's got nice drama with the height and stuff. Cool hotel, but other than that, there's not a great deal left I have to talk about, I'm afraid. Great work. I'm looking forward to seeing more from you, like with everybody else on this list. There's been no, like, truly bad ones. Maybe I shouldn't say stuff like that, because then the next one will be really bad. Let's take a look at Sex Butler? Sex Butter? What? Sex Butler. I'll allow it. Alright, so we got a smarty pants on our hands. So this is through the this one isn't Through the Fire and Flames. This one's Baby Coaster for little babies. And yes, I suppose it is. And in the Wasteland Beyond, we have Through the Fire and Flames, which just goes through its circuit at 10 bazillion miles an hour over and over again. I like the colours. Good to see Violet. On to the next one. It's me! Oh, what the hell? Oh, this is... Oh! Let's just move on before... Tada is next. Let's have a look at Tada. We have another bat signal. And it's way up in the sky. Great work on that. I'm impressed with what you guys managed to do with this, but I'm afraid it's suffering from being in the flipping way itis. I guess we can get rid of it by enabling cutaway view. We go, but it's gone. So now we can see a bit better. Who is this? What on earth? Airship themed monorail train. I guess I accept you. Let's take a look at these coasters. Good to see a jeweler in here. I'm a bit sad that we didn't get to see a dueling dragons type thing going on. Do they just launch out at the station? Or maybe they come like a lift hill? Arkham Breakout. The Joker and Batman. Yes, they launch out there. Very interesting. And they come down together. They come swooping around like so. Batman gets ahead and Joker holds on for a minute. And they come through and around. It looks like Batman's getting ahead though. Do these time up well? Yes, they do. Does it do it the same over here? A little bit less well. And then it's just making its way back to the station. DKMP Dark Knight Mini Park. Very nice, very nice. Very striking architectural feature, that one. It's just like Wayne Tower. This is round robin. I guess so. It does look pretty round. This is Vine Whip. No doubt based on... Oh heavens, I've forgotten what she's called now, but the really cool idea. Nice to see a dueling coaster in the inverted coaster competition. I think it lacks the finesse that I personally would like to see. It's quite meandering. It does have nice sort of like little dueling moments, but like here we get to here, then we do an S-bend. Is that really the best idea you could have had? Especially when you're having such cool ideas like getting this cool sign like that and this cool sort of fence you've made with Giga Coaster Track. That works really well. This building I think is really, really cool as well. It's got good instinct. This arch looks really cool, works very well indeed. We have yet another of the Tea Party ride thing. We've got some fall colours going on there. This archway works really well. Such an interesting Batman showing. I'm really glad you didn't do a Batman the Ride. It just comes through a little bit garbled at the end. Got some really cool, neat ideas. Looking forward to seeing more from you, Tada. I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the name, but we're showing potential. We're showing potential. I think pretty quickly we can develop this whole thing into something really cool. Looking forward to seeing more. Great work on the Batman theme. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see it 17 times this episode. And now we have Tall JK 26. Let's see what we've got here. Looking at it now, we've got that same idea I've expressed in a few of them, where it just seems to be random trees are orange. Let's watch it through. It's currently paused. Atmosphere feels very strong. It's not really got a huge amount going on, but that kind of works for it in a sense. There's one going up the lift hill now. Starts with like an S-bend and then a drop and then into the lift hill. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. It's looking like you've got a good understanding of how to get like diagonals in there and stuff. Love to see that. This line 1K looks really cool. First the helix, and then we're heading up again, down into our loop, and then we've got our 0G roll, and then we're dipping down, jumping across here like so. A weird placement for our Cobra roll, with a tight corner down and around there, and then it's a drawn out curve back to the station. We're dropping down, corkscrew, then cut back, and then up and down into the brake run. All this stuff we can resolve with a few more drafts. You know what I mean? Was this the result of many, many drafts, or was it your first go? I feel like that's a lesson that I feel like everybody in this... I feel like that's a lesson that everybody who's made a coaster that I've seen this round could take a lesson from. I feel like you could have eked out some more potential from the ideas you had on the page. In terms of the ideas around the park, really, really mellow. I kind of like it, to be honest. It's just chill, isn't it? Let's have a look at this station building. Yeah, really calm, really mellow. I'm thinking that your like architecture and ideas are perhaps a bit stronger than your ride design as it stands right now. That is something that can be easily remedied, or maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe you've just done different ones that you've done a little bit perhaps more to my taste on, and inverted coasters are a little bit of a weak point. It happens to everybody everywhere, so that's absolutely fine if that's the case. Really cool to see scurrying mice. It's a little sort of, I forget what its name is, but that little flat ride expressed through the medium of shoestringing and whatnot. Really cool to see. Then we've got a little diagonal building there. Really cool. Yes, cool. Like neat little entry. Very, very modest, but it comes across quite well, I think. Great to see it. Very good, Tall JK. Looking forward to seeing more. And now, are we at our last one? That's sad. And we've got another Batman the Ride. Are you kidding me? And this is from Topher McBum. Let's subject ourselves to yet another Batman the Ride. At least it's a little bit reimagined. We're through jumping over, then we're into a corkscrew instead. A corkscrew quick enough to kill a man where he stands. And then we're going into... There's a lot of people doing that, isn't there? Like, they're curving into the boomerang, into the cobra roll. And then it leaps over the track, then back into the brake run. This is a cool interpretation of Wayne Manor. It's admittedly not very, like, gothic. It's not very grimdark. Interesting interpretation of the Batman idea. I don't know why we've segregated Evergreen, Washington from the Batman clone that we've got here. This twist sort of nestled in the drop for the Batman the Ride is quite interesting. Nice to see some interaction with Alfred's Rose Garden, a car ride, no less. What is going on under here? Excuse me. Under here we appear to have Wayne Caverns. Very interesting indeed. And then we've got, who's this here? Young Bruce's Slides. Young Master Bruce. Very cool. Very nice. It's like this side has like loads more personality than this side. Got some cool hacks with the condor there. But this is quite down the middle and square and all this stuff. Got more underground stuff. Human torpedo with little buggies flipping and flapping. Very interesting. This side is a lot more daring, but then we have this like almost this like very straight line. We've got right angle-itis right here, where instead of doing a more natural curve, it's just, you know, some right angles. Same as here. Batman the Ride, the leading lines are really good to like get us in that direction, but it's lacking a bit of finesse to get those more complicated angles out. All in all, great work, Topher. I'm looking forward to seeing more. This architecture certainly shows promise, but like in general, it needs a bit more room to breathe. Some of the ideas are kind of quite literally stacked one on top of the other here. I'm grateful to see a reinterpretation of the Batman the Ride, if nothing else. You know, it's not necessarily to my taste in terms of ride design, but that's quite alright. I don't want people to take not to my taste as to me thinking it is bad and rubbish and should go, because that is not the case. And that makes everybody. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little insight to the stuff that's going on here. I'm sorry that it wasn't more like detailed and stuff like that. I prefer to leave the more detailed, like destroying what I'm seeing and then like doing it more to what I think it should be. I prefer to do that with consenting parties. I'd probably do that a bit more comfortably with the New Element crowd rather than the DKMP. This is my first time dipping the toes in. I don't want to take for granted the good grace I've been shown by this community. Everyone's been really kind with me so far from over at the DKMP. Maybe with time I can start getting a bit more brutal. People might say, hey, take a look at my thing. What would you have done differently? What could I have changed to help it get a few more points, I'm more than happy to do stuff like that. If you approach me, we could perhaps do it as a bit of a Fundamental Forest moment. That could be really cool. So if anyone's watching this who watches Fundamental Forest and would like to see your thing sort of me take a more critical eye and say maybe you could have changed this, and we can experiment a little bit with that sort of thing, we can certainly have a look at doing that. But like I say, I'm not going to do that without your guys' consent, because I think that would be a little bit rude to such an accommodating community. A bit presumptuous, and the last thing we want to do is presume, because it makes a prez out of you and me. But that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I don't think I'm going to do this as a Fundamental Forest episode, but I also don't think I'm going to get this out in time to be before the end of the voting. So if you're watching this, I imagine the voting's already closed, but maybe something crazy's happened. I've only got so much time in a day, guys. I'm sorry. But lots of love, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.